this guy has crazy amounts of confidence. When I first met you, that was the first thing I noticed. You had crazy confidence. You were coming off of winning streaks. You're winning in practice. You're winning out there in the cage. You're winning on the mat at jiu-jitsu tournaments. And then let's talk about your process to where everyone was saying you're the best, the next greatest thing. And then there was a humbling experience. So walk us through. Tell us first a quick recap of your first fight, because I love this story.
All right, so my first fight, I flew back home to Utah, and I decided I was going to just take a fight on like 3 weeks' notice. I was coming back from Cabo. I walk in, I was like, all right, cool, I'm just going to beat this dude up. And then he came out with all this confidence in the world. And
whole entourage.
Oh, he was the hometown favorite, wife and kids, front
100
row.
Tickets, like
he was the town preacher. So everybody knew him. He came out with all this confidence, like the preacher, Nick Teddy. And then I knocked his ass out in like 10 seconds and went home. And I saw his wife and kids crying. It was really rough. It was probably not the best Sunday for him.
For a preacher,
but, so that was my first fight. And then we had second fight in Epic. Went out, took the guy down, ripped his arm off real quick. And then that brings us to fight number 3, which was with Daniel Reyes.
Who's fighting on this card as well.
Who's fighting on this card for the 145 title, which is very well deserved because Danny is a motherfucker, man. He is super strong. And I basically trained with this whole corner leading up to the fight. And I was still like, no, I'm going to beat this guy. Like, I'm going to take him.
Doesn't matter if he
knows exactly what I'm doing. It's like Jordan driving in the paint. Like, you know he's taking the shot. He's going to fucking sink it. And I just fucking kind of LeBrick that shit right there. But
you walk up to his one of his main training partners, and he asks you who you're fighting, and you say Daniel Reyes, and he said, "Oh, that's my boy."
Like, that's my boy.
And then
shout out to Alberto Trujillo, El Fili, fighting this weekend for Cage Fury in Houston. But anyway, he was kind of like, "Oh shit," he's like, that's my boy. And I was like,
So you still thought you were going to win. It doesn't matter if all of his training partners had trained with you and all of his coaches knew your game plan. But apparently that made a difference.
Oh, dude. He was so strong. And I was getting into a battle in my head. I was like, how is this motherfucker taking me down right now? I was like, no way. And I just kept getting back up and back up and back up. And I was like, all right, he's eventually going to get tired. He's going to get tired. And then I just got up. I remember he took me down. I got up so sporadically. I gave up my back. It was the most basic back take ever. If you give a wrestler your back, that's rough news. Yeah. He had that RNC locked in so fucking fast. He was on my back. I was like, what the fuck is going on? I was like, I trained so much for this. I even said it to my coach.
Jiu-jitsu, that's your shit. You're going to turn we get nervous because you're competing so much in between fights. It's like, aren't you fighting for us? You're competing against these dudes who are trying to rip your neck off. Mm-hmm. And knock on wood, you've still been able to compete at your fights and haven't had any serious injuries. So for him to kind of beat you at your own game, how did that feel for you?
It humbled my ass for sure. It made me go back to the drawing board, not necessarily in how I was training because I was putting in the work. Probably, I just think I didn't give him enough respect at the end of the day. And I started to play his game instead of playing mine. Mm-hmm. And I probably should have played a little bit more guard. Like I threw up a buggy choke for a second and the crowd kind of went a little nuts. But in MMA, you'll get dumped on your head real fast. And this fool was super strong. But I played into his game, which I definitely shouldn't have done. But, you live and you learn.
A lot of people who follow you, myself included, thought you were mainly a jiu-jitsu guy who does some striking to supplement. But you started as a striker, as a boxer.
Oh, yeah. I came from amateur boxing. Mm-hmm. And jiu-jitsu, I hated it before. So really? I really had
now it seems like you're passionate.
Oh, yeah. I had to learn how to love it for sure. Yeah. But that also comes with not sucking. Because at first, jiu-jitsu is really hard, especially when you have a bunch of just dudes. Sweaty dudes in your face and their shirts are all sweaty. I understand how people would be hesitant to get into it.
Right. If that's their first experience, they jump into a class where the other people did the class before and they're already sweaty.
Oh, yeah. That's just the worst. And then they're just it's the worst when you're I know I have.
But once you're sweating, you don't care.
Exactly. But it's the worst when you know that you're not even sweating that hard, but the other person's sweat has made you wet, which just disgusting.
So if you're new to jiu-jitsu,
But
you know, do the class at the beginning of the class.
Yeah.
Don't jump in the open mat at the end with a bunch of sweaty people. You'll
absolutely.
love it more. But like you said, you embrace the suck. You suck at it for a few times. You learn a few moves. It gets interesting. You go home thinking about it. And next thing you know, you catch someone in practice. And that's usually the game changer. If you can make it long enough to catch a beginner in practice in a move, then you fall in love with it. So how you feeling leading up to this fight? What's new with your training? You're training at Victory MMA is what we got the shout out down there. But also all the Alliance
MMA.
guys are training at Victory. So a lot of people repping Alliance and Victory. And you're
Yeah.
also an Atos guy, which is a jiu-jitsu.
Yes, so I'm still repping Atos. Shout out to all my teammates who just won Europeans. Kainen, Duarte got double gold. Andy Murasaki, all you guys killing it as usual. And I haven't been over there as much because I've been focused more on my hands, training with the Alliance team and the Victory amateur guys as well. Jonathan Wilson been training with Bro a lot. He's fighting for the 135 belt. Bro's looking great.
That guy's a beast too.
Oh, he is a motherfucker.
Watch the Jonathan interview on the first one and the second one, where the first one he says, "Oh yeah, you know, I'm just hoping to do my best. I'm new to this." And then after his fight, he runs up to me and says, "I've been doing this my whole life. I just didn't want anyone to know."
Bro's a monster, and he's so, and you would never expect a dude like that to be able to completely whoop your ass and just like toss you on.
He doesn't look
head.
intimidating.
Yeah,
he looks very approachable,
which is great.
Which is awesome.
Anyway, I've been working a lot with Aaron P, Manny Huerta, and like Eric Del Fiero, Coach Nick over there, working on my wrestling. It's just grappling wrestling.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Del Fiero is the man. The fact, and I even have a funny story with him. When I first moved to San Diego, when I was like 18, 19, I went to the Alliance team. It was on H Street. And I went up to Eric and I was like, "Hey, like, you don't know me. My name is David, but you will one day." Like a dipshit.
Yeah.
And then I realized how much I sucked, and I was like, "Okay, I gotta go get my shit in check, and then I'll come back." But now, full circle, being back there and him like, I'm getting my ass whooped, but he's like still telling me, "You go here, go there, go there." And
yeah.
Shout out to like Goyito Perez, Jeremy Stevens, like Dom Cruz, all those dudes, like Tramel, all those people who are helping me, and Rolando Perez as well.
Oh, Rolando.
Yeah, Rolando's the man. Like
Crazy
San Diego legend.
Accurate
If you know, you know. He's the fucking man. Fought fucking Jose Aldo. All these fucking monsters.
Yep.
And yeah, absolute legend. So I'm really lucky to be around all those dudes. Like they're giving me knowledge that they don't need to do. Like they don't need to be telling me all these little tips and stuff. But the fact that I'm showing up and just trying to, I guess, compete and not just fall back to my grappling and just like actually taking the punches and stuff. I think that's where they get that respect. Like, all right, this kid is willing to show up and take those fucking lumps, because it is not easy, especially with those guys. And they'll tell you like, "If I'm going a little too hard, like let me know." I'm like, "Motherfucker, all you do is go hard." But it's like it's you learn to handle it.
If I was a betting man, what would be my best chance of winning betting on your next fight at Epic?
I think I'm gonna submit him.
Which round? Write this down for me.
It really just depends. I wanna get more time in there. The one thing that I liked when I was fighting Danny is that it got out of the first fucking round. Not only that, it got out of the first minute. None of my fights have ever gotten out of the first minute of the first round. Right. So I really want to.
So if you're feeling good in there and you think like I could go hard and finish it, you think you're just gonna keep working?
It just depends. Like I've really been working a lot of my wrestling and top control, basically just that Khabib style of pressure, which that wrestling pressure is completely different from the jiu-jitsu grappling
most
type
jiu-jitsu
of pressure.
guys don't experience the wrestling pressure too often. Yeah,
and
that's when you start on your butt and you do that and you kind of start.
I know, and even coming from a team like Atos, and we go through those hard. I went through the ADCC camp with all those fools for getting ready for ADCC, and
they do wrestling.
Oh, and it's really tough, but it's different when you know you can just accept being on bottom, because in MMA, it's like I even did combat jiu-jitsu. I went out there and competed in front of like Eddie Bravo, Brandon Moreno, and El Paso and all that, and getting Eddie's cosign and like getting to perform well in front of him. That was right before the last fight. I should have learned from that, because I got way too excited, and I probably should have just stuck more to the jiu-jitsu rather than just trying to slap the shit out of him.
Excited to be able to slap people.
It was just when you see blood running down their face, and I was like, I'm gonna be like, if I get a knockout in combat jiu-jitsu, that shit's going fucking viral. Like I need to knock this motherfucker out. And then he ended up catching me, but he was a really, really good brown belt, and I wish that I fucking knew that. But the fact that Eddie Bravo went up to me afterwards, he's like, oh, bro, you fucking killed it, blah, blah. Like, this is fucking Eddie Bravo. Like, Brandon Moreno's right there, too. So, and now, shout out to Brandon Moreno. Viva Tijuana. And fucking Viva Mexico. He won the fucking belt. But.
So you think you're going to win it. You're going to get it out of the first round. How are you going to win?
Probably an RNC.
Rear naked choke.
Yeah.
Get the back, choke him out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you betting people, that's where he says to put your money. Glad to have you again. Always exciting. Love to see you, man. Appreciate you. Come check us out. Epic Fighting, February 17th. Tickets are online. Instagram is at Epic Fighting. Follow our socials, like, share. And if you have a comment about it, put it below.
Shout out to my sponsors. Appreciate all you guys. Austin, Gabe, Tommy, C.A.M.O. All of you guys. Appreciate you. Tune in. Feb 17th. Boom.